Welcome to today's episode. Let's talk about today's guest. We have Roy Sexton from Clark Hill Law, Director of Marketing with them. How are you doing today, Roy?
Good. Thanks for having me.
No, it's great to have you on, and we're a little bit excited to learn about what Clark Hill does there. So let's kick it off with that, Roy. In your own words, can you tell us a little bit more about Clark Hill Law?
Sure. And because I'm the marketing guy, my own words are going to sound a lot like our copy on our website, probably. But we have over 700 attorneys across 27 offices, and that includes Dublin and Mexico City. The remaining offices are all in the continental United States. And we are your typical corporate law firm in many ways, in that we run the gamut of everything general counsel might need in a large company or small size company. So we do labor and employment, we do banking and finance, M&A, litigation, energy. We do it all, and it's all there on our website in beautiful Technicolor and black and white. But I think the other thing that I like to emphasize about our firm, and we came up with the tagline when we rebranded a few years ago, Simply Smarter, because we are an approachable, accessible group of legal professionals who understand the business needs of our clients and can speak their language and help them find solutions to meet their needs expeditiously. So I've worked in 3 different firms, and this is no slight to any other firms, but I feel like we have a very accessible group of people who can really be an extension of one's own internal team.
Definitely, that's important to hear from you guys and from you, right? Like you mentioned. That way our listeners could get a good understanding of Clark Hill Law. Then, what would you say then is a key problem that you guys like to solve for the plaintiffs or clients?
Well, I mean, it can run the gamut. It's going to fall down by practice area, but also we have industry teams where we focus in automotive, retail and hospitality, transportation, logistics. We have a Title IX team, we have a cannabis team, we have a cybersecurity team, a real estate team, and all of them, those industry teams are cross function. So we'll have a labor and employment person that's part of the retail team. We'll have someone that can help draft documents and do contract review. We'll have someone who can deal with litigation, so that every aspect of business concern that might come up, say in the retail and hospitality space, there will also be some unique pieces there, like franchising is unique to that industry. So we make sure that we have legal support for any business issue that industry might be facing, and we have someone who understands what that industry needs, how they work, so that when, quite frankly, when someone has a legal issue, they're coming at it probably with some anxiety, trepidation, or anticipation. And so having somebody that can say, I know your industry, I know how you work, and I understand how to be an extension of you is important.
Definitely, that's always important. I know you guys have a lot of industries that you guys like to tend to, some also regulations, transactionals, litigations, personal as well. But is there an ideal ICP then for Roy, for you guys there at Clark Hill?
In terms of what does our typical client look like? Is that your question? Yeah.
Exactly.
So in our space, more often than not, it's going to be the general counsel within the organization. So either they don't have the bandwidth on their own team to deal with the legal issue, they don't have the expertise on their own team to deal with the issue, or they're conflicted out where they don't want to represent themselves, say if it goes to trial or something like that. So more often than not, it's going to be that general counsel who's making the purchasing decision within the client to say, I need to lean into a corporate firm. Clark Hill, again, is an extension of us. Let's bring them in. Now, that's not to say we will work, other people in the C-suite, chief financial officers, chief operating officers, they might not have general counsel inside, so they have to lean into an external team. And then we also have our small business owners, mid-sized businesses, or family-owned businesses where they just need someone to work on their legal issues because they might not have somebody in-house to do that.
Definitely. Okay, perfect. And that way our listeners could go ahead and visit you guys.
Yeah.
You could also check them out at clarkhill.com.
Yes.
What role does the website then play for client acquisition potentially?
And I'm going to speak in some legal jargon, I suppose, but it won't be lost on you and hopefully not to your listeners. I mean, there are kind of 2 different paradigms. We can look at the funnel, right, where it's that sort of reach and awareness at the top line of the funnel where you're getting people to know who you are and you're moving them toward the purchasing decision through activity. So that website in some ways is leading people into the activity. We can kind of validate who we are and what we do. People will find us in search. They might have a question of some thing that's happened legislatively or some regulatory issue that's happening in their industry. They find us in search, they come to the website. From there, they might say, oh, you have an event, I want to attend that, or I want to meet one of your attorneys when they're attending a conference or something like that. That's moving them further down the funnel to then the point where we're like, well, let's have a one-on-one conversation. You've attended a couple of our events, or you've had some interaction with newsletters and things we've sent out. Now let's set up some time for you to meet the attorney if that hasn't already yielded business. Ideally, people find that thought leadership and then they say, I got to call this attorney because they got this problem and I want to hire them on the spot. That's the ideal situation. So that's one model I tend to think about, but I also tend to think about it like a hub and spoke. I was a healthcare person before I was in legal. So I did healthcare for 10 years and then did legal. And we would always talk about a hub and spoke model with our physical space. So the hospital was the hub, the spokes were the primary care or the imaging center, or whatever. And I feel like in this world, the hub is the website. Again, that's where the source of much of the content is, and the spokes are going to be social media, any advertising we do, things like that are going to bring people to the website where they're going to explore. I would say one of the mistakes people often make in legal, and it's often driven by internal demands, people think people come to a law firm website and just browse like they're on Amazon. They do not do that. And they will not. And I have internal clients that will say, well, how did they find this page? Well, they don't find it from the homepage. They find it from search more often than not. So we want to make sure there's robust content. Again, breadcrumbs or spokes leading people to the hub where the source of truth is about Clark Hill.
Definitely, that's important. And on that note, is there any tools or tips or methods that you would recommend then to our listeners as far as some website lead generation?
Yeah, for us, and lead generation, I want to pause and talk about the business model of a corporate law firm versus maybe law firms people are familiar with that are dealing with, mesothelioma, or they're in a car accident, that kind of thing. That's not us. So you see those ads on the side of the road or on television, they're reaching consumers who have an immediate need. They're in a car accident and they're like, I remember that name, I'm going to call them. That's not what we do. We're dealing more with a long game of business leaders who may or may not need us in the moment, but we want them to be aware of us. So lead generation is not as overt as you're on our website, we got your information, we're giving you a call. In fact, the people that we're pitching might not appreciate that. They want to investigate, research, and learn. And then we use mechanisms like, well, we have various newsletters we send out. People can opt in to learn kind of what's developing. Again, I'll pick on retail and hospitality. They have a newsletter they call the Learned Concierge, and they do that on a monthly basis with kind of news that's happening, issues that might be top of mind for people who are in that industry. So they're getting that on a regular basis. They opt in, we get their information. Then we invite them to an event. So we're moving them again through that funnel. So lead generation for us it's a little hard to describe in the way I'm not selling tennis shoes. So it's not like somebody went to the website and I'm following them around, and then anytime they are on Facebook, they're going to see an ad for tennis shoes from me. Ours is more, let's have a lot of thoughtful content that brings people in, answering questions that we wouldn't necessarily bill for, to then say, I feel comfortable and trust these folks. Now I want to take a meeting with them. So we have a pitch and proposal team that is actively scouring for organizations that are looking to hire outside counsel, and we will submit documentation through those processes. Again, they'll come back to our website, they'll check us out, they'll see that we're real, we do good work, and then that will turn into business for us. So I don't know if I made a muddle out of that or if there's anything you want to clarify from that process, but.
No, thanks so much for that advice. I think our listeners, they're all marketers, so I'm sure that they got a little tip there from you. So great stuff there, Roy. And well, let's then switch gears a little bit, Roy, and let's talk about you as a leader. You being the director of marketing there for Clark Hill Law. What are some key tasks you'd like to focus on your day-to-day work?
Yeah, so I came here about 6 years ago, and at that time, the firm had grown through a lot of acquisition of smaller regional firms. So it was important for us to establish a new brand and a cohesive voice for all of those new parts of the organization that had come together. So that was job one for me. The other piece was we had kind of a fragmented marketing team. They were distributed geographically. They had inherited from kind of these different parts of the organization. And we also have a business development side to our team. When I started, business development and marketing were two separate entities at Clark Hill. In a corporate law firm, just to net this out, sometimes we say marketing shows you the door, business development helps you walk through it. So the business development folks are the ones sitting down with the attorneys, coaching them. Because at the end of the day, in a firm like ours, the attorney gets the credit for developing their own book of business. So they need a coach to work with them on how do you identify your target? How do you develop that relationship? How do you follow up? So the business development folks on our team, they work on that strategy side as well as inform marketing with the positioning that we might want to articulate. My side of the house, the marketing side, and that's what was so important to integrate those two, and how it was a challenge when they weren't integrated. So if business development sitting down with the attorney saying, who are you? What do you want to reach? Marketing picks that up and says, okay, do you like to write? Let's do a media relations strategy with you. Oh, you're a speaker. Okay, let's get you some speaking opportunities. Oh, you want to do a podcast? We can set that up for you. Oh, you're a social media person. Let's work through that. But we work with each attorney or each practice group to say, what is the marketing tactic that resonates with you and that you as a busy attorney have time to do? And once they start to create that content, then my team kicks in with the distribution and the execution. So we have a robust creative team that is part of my world, and they're keeping the website hopping, they're keeping social media going, they're doing all our design work, they're producing the podcast. I have an events person who's dealing with kind of a hybrid of webinar and in person. And then legal is really, really enamored of awards. We have lots of them: super lawyers, best lawyers, chambers, and attorneys love to be recognized. So I have a couple of folks who are constantly managing the ones we know about and also addressing the ones that pop out of the ether, because every publication out there realized if they put an awards list in, they can sell ads. So just about every business journal out there now has a different lawyer award, and we track all that and we decide which ones have merit, which ones don't, and make sure that our folks are placed. So that's a trying to get through it quickly, but it's, that my side, I'm the megaphone. I'm the one trying to make sure people know about the firm so the business development folks can help the attorneys meet their goals of revenue growth.
Definitely, and that's important. I mean, it sounds like you have a full plate there on your hands. So kudos to you, Roy, for being able to handle all that in one plate. So thank you so much for sharing that. And well, let's jump into our next section here, Roy, which is our rapid fire question rounds. Are you ready for them?
Yes.
All right, Roy. First off, what is the last book that you read?
The last book I read, you're going to be either horrified or happily surprised. It's a biography of Madonna called A Rebel Life by Mary Gabriel. And I happen to like Madonna a lot. 700 pages. It took me a while to get through it. But I like biographies and history. I'm not a business book person. I don't get much out of those. I like learning about people who've been successful and what they did. And what I loved about this book, it's copiously researched. It's almost an academic kind of piece, because every bit of detail about Madonna's life. But also what I found interesting as a marketer is how did she avail herself of different moments in time to anticipate where her audience was going to be, and also how did she incorporate social issues and things that were close to her heart to again engage the audience and change our culture. So it's a really interesting book, and because she came from Michigan and that's where I live, it was also interesting to kind of hear about her upbringing and some of that. So that was the last book I read. I highly recommend it.
Awesome, great read there for our listeners. Next, Roy, is what is one single thing the firm is focused on at the moment the most?
Well, I'm going to say what our team is focused on. The firm is focused on a lot of things. Growth is always top of mind. And I would say also our culture is very important, top of mind for the firm. Diversity, equity, inclusion. We've gotten Mansfield certification and constantly having an inclusive environment for our talent and our clients to feel like they can be their best self. So that's, I would say, the firm, that's always a priority. For us this year in marketing, we did the brand, we redid the website, we've got all the tactics in place. Our marketing technology and our data flow needs some attention. We do not have a CRM currently at Clark Hill, and I don't know that we're going to make that investment anytime soon, but trying to figure out what does our pipeline look like and how are we tracking it? We're still doing a lot of stuff behind the scenes through spreadsheets, other things like that. We've got a piece that we're putting in place, electronic relationship management. We're implementing that now, but then trying to figure out how are we going to leverage that data to measure the effectiveness of our marketing.
Definitely important. All right. Awesome to hear that from you guys, Roy. Next is, if there would be no boundaries in technology, what would be that one thing that you want to have fixed for your role as a marketer today?
Well, we're working on it. It would be that data piece. And honestly, there are tools out there that do automate that. But I think some of them require a bigger investment than maybe the firm is ready to make. And I totally appreciate it's a business. They have to think about, what are we going to invest in? Are we going to invest in our invoicing system or our talent pipeline database or the marketing database? And they have to make those choices. And I think we'll come around to what we need to. But if I could wave a wand, it would be that. And again, I know the tools are out there. Nobody needs to pitch me on them. Just being able to, at the push of a button, take a snapshot and say, all right, Ernesto, what does your profile look like with Clark Hill? What material have you engaged with? Where are you in the life cycle of purchasing with us? How much interaction? And again, we're working on that right now, and I know that's already solved. It's not like I'm talking about anything groundbreaking, but I feel like it's the piece we're missing in our work. And we've been very fortuitous and thoughtful and opportunistic in what we've done. So the firm has grown every year I've been there substantially. So we've almost been a victim of our own success. The firm continues to grow without this ability. So one would say, well, do you need it? And I'm like, well, at some point we're going to hit a wall, and we need to be able to count noses and see where our current customers and our potential customers, how they're engaging with us. So it's not really answering your question, but that's my issue right now that needs to work through. So.
Yep, exactly. I mean that's the whole point, right? Seeing what you would need there at Clark Hill Law. Perfect, awesome. So on that, is there one repetitive task that you could automate then? What would that be?
I would say, and again, we're working through that. Any data that's coming in right now, this tool we're looking at will be able to kind of monitor email and grab email addresses and show how many interactions have occurred. But what we have not automated and is not necessarily part of the queue yet, any of that information anywhere else it might be coming. So anybody and some of it's available publicly, some of it's not. We've seen changes to cookies and stuff, so it makes it more difficult. We're lawyers, so we want to honor GDPR and can spam and all those things. So I don't want to say anything untoward, but if I could wave a wand, all that data entry would happen instantly. So if someone's engaged with our LinkedIn, I get their contact information, not because I'm going to email them because I want them to give me the permission, but I want to be able to see what is my ecosystem of all the people interacting with our content, not just the people that happen to be in an attorney's Outlook contacts that we get, but who else is out there, who's engaged with an ad, who's engaged with our social media, who has attended a webinar or thinking about it. I would love all that data in one place, and I'd like it all to be collected without anybody having to go in and check it or input it or, so some of that I'm allowed to do. Some of it we're not allowed to do yet, but I feel we're in a data rich moment, almost to the point where we're all tripping over data and what to do with all of it. And I wish there was a simple, cohesive way to say, here's the universe of all the people looking at you, and it's updated in real time. And again, I know it's out there, and we're getting pieces of it, but.
Yep, I would totally agree. I think everybody wants that, so awesome to hear that from you, Roy. And I mean, you have a lot of experience already, like you mentioned. You were in the health, now you're in the law, but you have a lot of experience in the marketing world. So what is one piece of advice that you would give yourself if you were to restart your journey as a marketer today?
Relax and enjoy the journey more. Don't worry about what your title is going to be or you need more responsibility. There were many times I look back in my career where I maybe had a smaller team or didn't have the span of responsibility I have now. And I was so anxious to try to get more and do more. I don't think I enjoyed the moments. And now I don't remember, I would come home from work and complain about something, the healthcare system. I don't remember any of that. What I remember the 5 or 6 people I worked with in those early days, and it was just us, and we were doing creative, thoughtful work. And I was ready for more. I got my MBA. I wanted a bigger team. I wanted to do more. And I'm glad I am where I am because I pushed myself. But I think I could have enjoyed the journey more. And now that I'm older, fatter, wiser, I'm learning that taking that moment, and that's what I would say to people beginning this marketing journey, remember that you're there to engage an audience to make a purchasing decision. And it will, no matter what digital tools we have available, no matter what AI does to us, the ability to weave a good story together and have people understand what you do and why your people are special. And I don't know that I did a particularly good job of that today, but if you can weave that narrative in for people, I'm a theater person by training. That's how you're going to engage them. That's how they're going to connect. And so taking the pause along the way, you're going to surface a lot more detail. It's going to be pretty interesting to your clients. But if you're just worried about moving, you're going to miss some important detail along the way. So.
Definitely some great advice there for our listeners. Roy, well, it's been a pleasure to have you on. We're coming to the end of the show here. But before we do end, Roy, I do want to give you the last word. If someone forgets everything about the interview today, what is that one thing they should remember about Clark Hill?
We are a values-driven law firm that is there primarily to be helpful to our clients and their success. I know that's a bit broad, but so many law firms lead with our expertise and our awards and our this, and that's all great. But at the end of the day, if I'm hiring a lawyer, it's much like hiring an accountant or someone who might do some work on my home or whatever. I want to feel comfortable with them. I want to feel like that's a human being who is not going to make me feel foolish for asking a question, but they're going to hold my hand and help me through whatever issue I might be facing. And that's what I like about this firm and why I've stuck around. These are people who do genuinely care about their colleagues, their clients, and their communities, and they exemplify that every day. And that keeps me around, and I think it's a good thing for our clients. Those that work with us all say the same thing. So
Definitely important. Hey, well, it's been a pleasure to have you on with us today, Roy. To our listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. You can always check him out at clarkhill.com. And I'm looking forward to our next episode at Pathmonk Presents. Thanks a lot, Roy.
thank you.